like to welcome you to Kent Recital Hall here on the campus of Fitchburg State University. Tonight's debate is co-sponsored by the Sentinel and Enterprise newspaper and Fitchburg State University. This evening we welcome the final candidates for the mayor of the city of Fitchburg. We have a great crowd here in the room, and it is also being broadcast by Fitchburg Access TV for the wider viewing public. I thank all of you for your interest in local government and urge you to get out and vote on Tuesday, November 3rd. We are joined tonight by two candidates, Mr. Stephen DiNatale and Mr. Andrew Couture. Welcome both. Glad to have you here. Our format this evening will be as follows. We have a panelist of questioners. Each will pose a question. You'll have 1 minute to make a response to the question, then an opportunity, 1 minute for the other candidate to rebut, and then we'll have 2 minutes for deeper conversation on that topic. Once we get through the panel questions, we'll have an opportunity for each candidate to ask the other one question, which will prompt a 1 minute response, and then an opportunity for a 1 minute rebuttal. And then we'll have an opportunity for 2 minute closing statements to conclude the conversation. We ask you to be considerate of the timer. Tonight we have a student, LaWanda Whitaker Ross, student majoring in human services here at FSU. LaWanda, if you would stand up and be recognized. LaWanda is a senator in the Student Government Association and president of the Political Science Club. She will be holding an electronic timer which will count down the time as the candidates answer the questions. When the time expires, she will hold up a red panel, at which time I'll ask you to conclude your final thoughts, and we'll move on to the next question. Let me now introduce our panelists. First of all, we have Mr. Charles St. Amand, editor of the Sentinel and Enterprise. Charlie. We have Ms. Tricia Pistone, project director for Reimagine North of Maine. And finally, we have Ms. Stephanie Infante, who's a student representative to the Fitchburg State Board of Trustees. Stephanie? This time, let me turn it over to Charlie St. Amand, who will introduce our candidates and start the first round of questioning. Charlie?
Thank you, President Lapidus, for once again serving as host and moderator of a Fitchburg State Sentinel and Enterprise-sponsored debate. Thanks to all the folks behind the scenes here dealing with logistics and setup, especially Public Relations Director Matthew Bruin, and special thanks also to FATV for bringing this debate to our home audience live. We are also live streaming FATV's feed on sentinelandenterprise.com, where Sentinel and Enterprise staffers are also live blogging throughout the debate tonight. You may join the conversation on Twitter using hashtag #FitchburgVotes. Hashtag #FitchburgVotes, all one word. I also thank my fellow panelists, Tricia and Stephanie, and our fantastic audience here tonight. And of course, I thank our candidates for being here. To your left is Representative Stephen DiNatale, and to your right is Attorney Andrew Couture. Let's begin. And the first question goes to Stephen DiNatale. First, why do you want to be mayor of Fitchburg?
Thank you, Mr. St. Amand, for that question. I have given 15 years of my life to public service. I've been a city councilor, a school committee member, and the state representative for 9 years. I am totally invested in the city of Fitchburg. This is where my family's been brought up. I put 2 of my children through the public schools, and I feel a deep and abiding obligation to give back to this city that's been so good to me. And I believe I'm the best person to make a difference in the city of Fitchburg. That's why I'm running for mayor.
Thank you. I'm running for mayor because the city needs change. I have invested years of my life studying the law, interpreting the law, and I think my experience will benefit Fitchburg. I've bought a house in Fitchburg. I'm raising 2 children in Fitchburg, and I have a vested interest in the city. I want to see the city do well. I want to see more businesses come into the city. I want to see crime reduced within the city. I want to see Fitchburg excel like I know it can. Thank you.
Any further discussion on that topic? Either? No? Okay, then we will move on to question number 2. Tricia, if you would.
Mr. Couture, the city is working with community partners like Reimagine North of Maine on redevelopment projects. Our efforts have found a lack of usable data at City Hall, such as inventories of vacant commercial properties. What will you do as mayor to facilitate this work?
Well, I think this all goes to the point of my registry. Not only will I have a landlord registry, but I will also have a registry of vacant properties within the city. Who owns it, and how can we best utilize these vacant properties? Right now, we drive through the city, and we see vacant properties all over the place. Who owns them? How are we going to utilize them? The city owns many vacant properties, and we need to look into exactly how we can best utilize these vacant properties that the city owns, either sell them, utilize them, or figure out a way that we can best utilize them. Thank you.
Representative DiNatale.
Thank you, Ms. Pistone. The North of Maine is an outstanding project. We were fortunate enough to get the funding from the Federal Reserve. The project runs from the college area all the way up through the museum. The inventory is already being undertaken by Mary Jo Bohart, our Economic Development Director, who is going to take a triage approach to the properties on Main Street and determining what is needed in each property and communicating that to prospective renters or buyers. And I think the North of Maine project holds huge promise for the city, I think certainly for the downtown area. So I think it's the way that we should be proceeding, and I think with that inventory, we'll make a difference in marketing the downtown area to those prospective clients that may want to come in. Thank you.
We have an opportunity for further comments? No?
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. All right, then we will move to question 3. Stephanie, if you would ask a question to Stephen, please.
Representative DiNatale, we are gathered tonight on the campus of Fitchburg State University. What will you do to leverage the partnership between the campus and City Hall to benefit the community?
Thank you, Ms. Infante, for that question. I have, as the state representative, I've always had an outstanding relationship with Fitchburg State University. As a point of interest, the second largest employer in the city. President Lapidus and I have met on a number of occasions, and we understand the importance of a collaborative approach to the city and the university. Myself, as the mayor and the leader and CEO of the city, will certainly do all I can to promote that relationship, because what's good for you is good for us in the city of Fitchburg. And I want to make our city available to your students and bringing them more downtown. Police Community Center, in speaking with Chief Martineau, is a collaboration with the city and Fitchburg State University Police. It's reaching out to students at FSU. Foot patrols will be continuing on Main Street until Halloween. Chief and I have talked about what we could do beyond that, and I think that's the way we should be going. Bringing people downtown. It's a safe city, and we want to promote that. Thank you.
Thank you. I first would utilize Fitchburg State College in order to be able to enhance the businesses on Main Street in Fitchburg. You know, with a collaborative effort with Fitchburg State College, we can bring more students down here. We already started the projects with CVS, great addition. We need more businesses on Main Street. And in order to be able to do that, we need the college students to come down and utilize what we have, support what we have, and also give added tax incentives to the people, to the students of Fitchburg State College in order for them to stay in the city and utilize their knowledge that they've gained from Fitchburg State in order to be able to set up new businesses and prosper. Thank you.
Further conversation on that topic?
Yes, I'd like to ask, sir, how would tax incentives for a student, I'm not sure exactly what that means. Could you clarify that, please?
Absolutely, sir. In order to be able to set up a business within the city, we need to provide the most incentives possible for any business coming in, whether it be students, whether it be businesses from outside of the city coming in. You know, turning Main Street into an economic redevelopment zone, and I believe Mary Jo Bohart has been touting a plan similar to this, where we can give tax incentives to businesses coming down onto Main Street and really utilizing Main Street to the best possible way that we can.
But you said tax incentives to students.
To students starting businesses, yes.
To a student starting a business?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else?
No, I'm good.
Okay, very good. And that concludes round one of our questions. For those just tuning in, we're here at Kent Recital Hall on the campus of Fitchburg State University for the debate between Fitchburg mayoral candidates Stephen DiNatale and Andrew Couture. And we will continue with a question from Charlie to Andrew, please.
Attorney Couture, please describe your vision for the first 6 weeks of your tenure as mayor. What items are on your front burner?
Well, the items on my front burner, first and foremost, for my first 6 weeks, would be one, getting a canine unit within the city. We don't have one. And in fact, I was just at the Lou Evangelidis premiere of a wonderful program that he's doing, and that is basically taking shelter dogs and training them to be drug-sniffing dogs. We desperately need something like that in the city. My next order of business would be to streamline businesses in the city. Streamline, making it easier to start a business within the community, and also to promote businesses. Start looking into what we can do to advocate for our businesses within the city. And that would be in my first 6 weeks.
Thank you for that question, Mr. St. Armand. I would first work closely to support the newly hired Economic Development Director, Mary Jo Bohart. She needs to be supported in all her efforts. Primary focus should be to expand the city's economic tax base with respect to commercial and industrial development. Currently, 20% of our overall tax base is commercial industrial. It's been stagnant since '08. A thorough and comprehensive review of the city's zoning map, finding key areas where zoning changes are necessary to create commercial industrial space to market and develop. A focus on streamlining the municipal permitting process, making it more user-friendly for developers and existing businesses wishing to expand. And being proactive with communications and outreach to the city's business community. Proactive from the mayor's office on a regular basis to establish a close working partnership, building goodwill and an open-door policy. We also need to enhance, to develop, to focus on the creative economy. That is also a big piece of our economic development in the city of Fitchburg. Thank you.
Anything follow-up on that question?
No.
No? All right. And that brings us to question next, let's see, number 5. I believe that would be Tricia.
Representative DiNatale, what would you commit to doing to make Fitchburg business-friendly?
Thank you, Ms. Pistone. I think I mentioned some of the key issues. I've had conversations with some of the real estate and development folks, contractors and whatnot. It's a reoccurring theme has been the permitting process in the city of Fitchburg. It's very restrictive. It's not flexible. What I'm hoping we can learn to do, and this is driven by the leadership of the mayor, what I'm hoping we'll be able to do, just as an example, we require oftentimes a prospective developer to come into one of the properties in Fitchburg, and we require them to go and get an architectural study. Now, for some of these smaller businesses, that's a significant expenditure of cash in the vicinity of $10,000. We should have a building department and a permitting process that already is helpful to that extent. Lets them know what they need to do so they can go out and do it, have the contractors come in and make those changes. The other piece, particularly for the downtown, is that we need to promote a walking crowd, walking people, bring them downtown. And as I mentioned earlier with the chief and the community policing unit that exists right now with Fitchburg State's cooperation in their police department, I think we can make that happen and make it user-friendly downtown. Thank you.
Andrew?
Thank you. First thing that I would do to make Fitchburg business-friendly is support and advocate for the businesses that we have. Keeping creators and jobs in the city is crucial. I'll focus on ensuring businesses that they are here to stay. I will personally conduct regular outreaches to all business owners within the city with a customer service orientation approach. Also create business directory for businesses to refer to when purchasing to create almost an interweb in the city for businesses. I will work with and recruit businesses and job creators to move into the city, working with Mary Jo Bohart. And third, cutting the needless red tape for businesses to start and grow. We need to end the needless regulations so that new businesses and businesses looking to expand without the city putting up barriers. Regulatory changes to limit the number of commission or board reviews to ensure that the basic approval can be made over the counter. I'll cultivate small business growth by creating simpler startup processes. And above all, marketing the city. Marketing the city to boost investor and job creator confidence. Thank you.
Greater depth on that question from either?
I'm good. Thank you.
No? All right. Stephanie, then, if you would ask the next question to Andrew.
Mr. Couture, what would be your sales pitch to get a prospective business owner to set up a shop in Fitchburg versus another community?
We have plenty of, Fitchburg is a town that has many thriving potentials. We can utilize the river for electricity. We can utilize the solar and wind, which is all in my plans for alternative energy sources. Because right now, unfortunately, DiNatale is one of the biggest inhibitors of business growth. We need to promote what we have. And one thing is that we have plenty of people in the city looking for jobs. We have plenty of marketable resources within this city. And that would be my pitch.
Thank you, Mr. Infante. I think first and foremost, I would simply say to these prospective business owners, we are open for business. We are a user-friendly city. We want to help you get to yes, not putting obstacles in your way to establish your business in the city of Fitchburg. I think as the chief executive officer of the city, it's incumbent upon that person to do an active outreach to these businesses, to make sure that when they call my office because they may be having a problem, that I will respond. Similar to what I do today as the state representative. We deal with concerns every day. People call my office because we get things done. Thank you.
Further comment?
Mr. DiNatale, you say that you deal with concerns every day and you get things done. You've been state rep now for 8 years?
That'd be 9.
9 years, pardon me. But what has happened? What's happened in the past 9 years?
I'm looking for some of our accomplishments. Thank you. Let me just say that we have consistently voted, I've consistently voted for an increase in Chapter 90, Chapter 70, and local aid for the last 9 years. We have a new terminal going in at the airport. That's through the efforts of the delegation and primarily my office. That's going to be an economic driver. The rail line going from Fitchburg to Porter Square helped to raise the grant funding from the federal government and state government to the tune of $54 million to fix that tracking, to make the commute less, to make it less. I prefer to see the city of Fitchburg on the move in a positive sense. And I think we've made great strides. The Lunenburg Street project, 3 communities involved. Part of my office was involved in that, $400,000. John Fitch Highway, that redevelopment project, $200,000 to $300,000, part of my efforts as the state representative. Do I need to continue?
Well, sir, you mentioned local aid.
Yes.
Now, in the 188th legislative session, House Bill 4000, Amendment Roll Call number 346, you voted against providing over $250 million in additional local aid to cities and towns in order to mitigate past increases in property taxes. In addition to that, sir, you also, in the same House bill, Amendment Roll Call number 348, you voted against ensuring that 50% of all tax receipts, up to a total of $100 million over the established projections, would be sent to cities and towns in the form of local aid. In addition to that, sir, in House Bill 4000, you voted for Deval Patrick's fiscal year 2015 budget, which boosted government spending by over $2 billion annually, but voting against cutting the income tax rate and sales tax rate back to 5%.
In terms of local aid, 53% of our city budget comes from local aid from the state. In fiscal 07 to 15, since I've been the state rep, we've increased local aid by 10% over those years. 10%. Last year to this fiscal year, there's been an $800,000 increase. Now, you've been challenged in the past with researching votes on a local level. It's even more complex when you go to the state level. We meet every 2 years in session. We develop jointly, Republicans and Democrats, our rules. It's very complex. So some of those figures that I just reported to you are what we have done, what I have done as the state representative. There's much more. Local aid is much more complex than simply money to the cities and towns. What you're referring to was an initiative by the Republican Party, which they do every year, is to simply say, we want to earmark that money before we even know what that figure is going to be. That's not the way we operate in the House of Representatives. And I might add, our state finances, we're the 4th highest in the country when it comes to our stabilization account. And that's because Democrats and Republicans in the House manage our budget well. And it's much more complex than simply local aid.
Mr. DiNatale, you've been quoted as saying that you are a fiscal conservative but socially liberal. So you're taking attacks at Republicans?
I never said I was a social liberal. I'm a moderate liberal. I'm a moderate socially. Fiscally, yes. I am one of the more conservative Democrats in the House of Representatives. Let's talk about the votes that I've taken not to raise taxes as opposed to what I've done, what you think I've done to raise taxes. You're not bringing those up.
Let's move on to the next question, and we can come back to some of this.
Thank you.
That brings us, I believe, to round 3, and we're back to Charlie asking a question of Stephen.
Representative, each of you has discussed efforts to target absentee landlords in the city. Describe the merits of your plan and the outcomes you hope to achieve.
Thank you, Mr. Sandeman. I want this to be clear. This is not an assault on landlords. My approach is to simply garner and gather information that makes it easier for us as a city to notify and contact these individuals for a host of different issues. Right now, it's much too difficult to do that. What my proposal costs no money. It's gathering information. And that's what I think is important. We've got a number of landlords in the city, property owners, I shouldn't even say landlords, let's say property owners, that are very, very difficult to reach because they're either a bank or an investment firm or an individual who lives out of town or even the individual who lives in town. I want to make that easier and simpler because I'd like to focus on reaching out to those individuals and not asking them whether or not they're going to sell their property or they're going to foreclose on it or what have you. It's what are you doing to make the property look presentable if it's in fact not presentable. That's my goal. Thank you.
Thank you. I, like Mr. DiNatale, do agree that we need a registry. We do need a list of who the property owners are within the city for these properties within, in and around the city that are falling down. But unlike Mr. DiNatale, we do need some teeth for that registry. Right now, if we just have a listing of the landlords within the city or outside of the city, I should say, what's going to happen when we have Board of Health crisis, when we have some sort of a problem within that building that we need to be able to hold that landlord accountable? A list simply just will not do, because we actually need some teeth in order to be able to hold these landlords accountable.
Question. Sir, are you familiar with the NICE committee?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Who attends those meetings? Who's a part of those meetings? What city departments? What individuals?
The Board of Health, the building committee.
The building committee?
Excuse me, the building department. Excuse me. Where are you getting?
Who else? All right, I'll tell you who's on that committee. The police chief, the fire chief, right? The mayor, city councils if they want to attend. That is where the information I'm proposing would go to redouble the efforts of the Neighborhood Improvement through Code Enforcement Group. They're already doing the job. Also, I left out one very key member of that, and one of your brethren, if you will, Mark Goldstein, our city assistant solicitor, who goes into housing court and addresses these issues. You, of all people, should know you can't just wish that away. You've got to go through the legal process.
I'm well aware of that, Mr. DiNatale,
okay,
because
well,
I've done it myself.
Well, there you go. But you left that out.
But, Mr. DiNatale, what would you do? Because obviously we have problems within the community. A simple list of landlords is not going to provide what we need. Obviously, we have to, as you say, redouble the efforts in order to hold these landlords accountable, because obviously the job's not getting done.
I think it is getting done. The NICE committee is doing a great job. I think they're being very effective. That's right. Then we do. We disagree. We agree to disagree.
Thank you, gentlemen. That brings us to question number 8. Tricia, if you would, question to Andrew.
Mr. Couture, this question comes from the Fitchburg Cultural Alliance. How would you change the city's permitting process to help enable a viable downtown cultural district alive with galleries, cafes, restaurants, and retail operations?
The same way I would in any business. Streamline the process of making it easier to start a business. I've been in contact with many entrepreneurs who want to start businesses in Fitchburg, but they find it too difficult. The city needs to be able to have something that they're going to actually make it easier and show the way on how to do this. Right now, in order to be able to start a business, you have to go from department to department to department. You look at Leominster, they have a round table. They have a round table of all the department heads in order to be able to start a business. That's how I would help the business community within the city.
Thank you, Ms. Pistone. I would once again call upon the stakeholders in the artistic community, certainly the Fitchburg Art Museum, the Cultural Alliance as well, the Cultural Council. I've brought $1.5 million into the city as a result of my efforts as a state representative for cultural events and cultural enhancement. That takes leadership, and that's the difference between what my opponent is proposing and me. I will be out there promoting the city, promoting these artistic endeavors, and getting them into the city because we get to yes. We get to yes, not no. Thank you.
Mr. DiNatale, I don't think I've ever said that I wouldn't be out there. In fact, referencing my business plan, I said I would personally go from business to business in order to be able to create an outreach.
Thank you.
Stephanie, a question for Mr. DiNatale.
Representative, if you are elected mayor, you will also serve as chairman of the school committee. Please describe your vision for the Fitchburg Public Schools and the financial commitment you will make to accomplish that goal.
Thank you, Ms. Infante. We have had challenges in the past with meeting net school spending. I think we need to make that commitment firm that we will fully fund net school spending. Thank you. We have many issues coming forward with the Fitchburg Public Schools. The superintendent and I talked just recently regarding a organization that's coming in to look at all our buildings. Some of our buildings are in very, very difficult shape, tough shape. So we're going to need to address that. And as the chair of the school committee, it's incumbent upon me to drive those issues. The difficult part and the challenge, I believe, is going to be how we keep costs down. And that's going to be, again, one of my goals. But again, working with a school system, I might add, that went from underperforming to proficient is quite a tribute to our school system, our superintendent, and the classroom teacher. Thank you.
when dealing with our net spending in the schools, we have to find out why are we underspending and what are the problems. Meanwhile, we must maintain a proper educational curriculum. We must maintain adequate staffing, and we must find out why the students are choosing school choice. As mayor, I will work closely with the administration and maintain a good relationship with the teachers and improve the schools to make families stay and attract other community students. Fitchburg State was originally a teacher's college. We need to work with Fitchburg State to improve our schools. We also need to enhance our schools. Recently, a supporter just sent me pictures of Memorial Middle School. The seats were ripped. Springs were sticking out of the seats. Obviously, we need to reinvest in our schools. Now, it's going to be a challenge to find the money in order to do this, but it's something that has to be done. And I will make it a priority in order to be able to do that. Thank you.
Further thoughts, education? No? Okay. And that brings us to round 4 of tonight's debate here at Fitchburg State University between the candidates vying for mayor. And we want to once again thank the Sentinel Enterprise for co-sponsoring this event and Fitchburg Access Television for sharing the program with viewers at home and online. That brings us now back to Charlie and a question for Mr. Couture.
Thank you. Attorney Couture, last year the City Council expressed its desire that all room taxes collected from the Great Wolf Lodge would be applied to the city's other post-employment benefits, or OPEB, liabilities. Will you make that commitment, or would you consider diverting those funds to other municipal needs?
In regards to a family paying off a credit card debt, I understand that we do have a problem with OPEB, or other than pension benefits. Now, we need a two-tiered approach to this. Can we put all of our eggs in one basket? No. We would have to disperse the funds. But I would redouble our efforts in order to be able to add to the trust fund that, for the first time last year, the City Council established a trust fund and started funding this trust to take care of the problem that we have, such as post-employment benefits, as medical insurance, life insurance, things of that nature. Now, at the end of each fiscal year, the state certifies that the city has free cash. We have to spend this free cash wisely to pay off our bills, and then what is left over, we create a set-aside to be used for the trust fund in order to fully fund the shortfalls of the pension plan. Now, how do we cure this problem? What an attorney does best, negotiate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sanamon. The OPEB deficit is, in fact, a real concern for the city. We will be fully funded in 2032. The state will require us to be fully funded in 2040. So that's a concern. To use non-reoccurring revenue from Great Wolf is something that I would have to take a look at on a regular basis. I need to get in there and look at the fiscal issues in general. It's not, we don't make these decisions in a vacuum. So for me to commit to that would be irresponsible. But it's something that certainly we need to address the OPEB deficit, and we have been. We have a payment plan. Dick Saracen, our auditor, has told me that we're hopefully going to stick to that plan. And again, that's something that will be the challenge. Thank you.
Additional thoughts on that question? No?
No, sir.
All right. Then I ask Tricia to pose the next question to Mr. DiNatale.
Representative DiNatale, ground was recently broken on millions of dollars in federal improvements to the Fitchburg Municipal Airport. How do you see the city capitalizing on this asset?
The Fitchburg Municipal Airport, it's always been controversial. Even when I was on the city council, it's always been an issue that whether or not it truly benefits the city. There was a study recently done 3 or 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, that mapped out exactly what the economic benefits are from the municipal airport. And I think that's something that we certainly have to try to work to make even more effective. This is a regional airport. It's not just the city of Fitchburg. And evidenced by Mass DOT, particularly the Aeronautics Division, agreeing to build a new terminal at the airport. This is the first time this has happened since the 60s. So that is an indication that the state has a commitment to that form of transportation and to that form of economic driver within our communities. And again, this is a regional airport. It's not just the city of Fitchburg. So the impact is far greater than simply Fitchburg. And we need to make that healthy and make it continue to thrive. Thank you.
The Fitchburg Airport is really underutilized. We need, in order to promote businesses, we need to show exactly how useful this airport can be. In order to be able to get industrial and commercial properties, developments in this city, we can really start expressing exactly what we can do with this airport. It's underutilized for the city itself and the promotion of it as well. We can really promote the Fitchburg Airport in order to be able to provide businesses an incentive to come into Fitchburg. In order to be able to do that, that would again be a selling point for the city that I would personally take. Thank you.
Other thoughts on airport development before we move on? No? All right, then that brings us to our last panel question. Stephanie, if you would pose that to Mr. Couture.
Mr. Couture, Mayor Lisa Wong leaves office in January after 8 years. What of her efforts will you look to continue, and what would you do differently?
Well, the first thing that I would do to look to continue is promote her parks projects. She has done a fantastic job. She took the Riverfront Park, which was once basically a toxic waste dump, and promote it into a shining jewel of the city. I would want to utilize that park in order to promote more festivals and also utilize the park system, the other parks within the city, in order to be able to provide more festivals as well. A lot of the people going around from going door to door, it's all telling me, there's got a lot of good things happening in Fitchburg, but there's not a lot to do here. We need to change that, and we need to promote that. We need to advertise the city. Come to Fitchburg. We got the Blacksmith Festival, Civic Days. Promote what we have in order to get more tourism in. Promote the Fitchburg Art Museum and the new B.F. Brown project that they're proposing. We have a lot of jewels within the city, and Lisa did a great job in promoting that. We need to do more.
I think the mayor has to be applauded, certainly for that North of Main project. She was really at the forefront of that project with the Federal Reserve. I was at the announcement over a year ago. I honestly believe and see this as a real economic driver for our city if we act on it properly. I think what she's done with the streetlights, I know it was always controversial, shutting them down, but going with the LED lights, I think, is proving to be a significant savings to the city, and turning those lights back on, people are certainly happy. But that's something that she's done well, and she's been a great ambassador for the city. She's well known in Boston. She's well known throughout the Commonwealth, and I thank her for those efforts. Thank you.
Anything additional there? Okay.
If there's no additional comment from Mr. DiNatale, I would like to ask the House to give a round of applause to Mayor Lisa Wong.
Well, that concludes the questions from our panel. So now we have an opportunity to have you pose questions to each other. So As I indicated, you each have an opportunity to ask one question and then an opportunity when there's a response to make a follow-up. And so we will start with Mr. Couture asking Mr. DiNatale a question.
Mr. DiNatale, your campaign slogan is, I hear what you hear, I see what you see, and I believe I feel what you feel.
I experience what you experience.
Pardon me. I experience what you experience. So you've been in the city politics. You were in the school committee for 2 years, city council for an additional 2 years, and 9 years as a state representative. Where have you been over the past years that you have been in office when you've decided to run for mayor is when your son, Marcus, decided to raise the pay $23,000.
Is that your question?
That's my question.
Thank
Where
you.
have you been?
Thank you. I wasn't aware that the city council is a council of one. That's a great responsibility you have. It's weighty. Let me remind my opponent that the salary of the mayor is not raised by the mayor. It's brought forward by the city clerk by ordinance every 2 years. It's up to the council whether they want to take it on or not, or give it leave to withdraw. That particular year, which was 3 or 4 years ago, I had no intention whatsoever of running for mayor 3 or 4 years ago. All right? So your comment is specious at best. Thank you.
You have a response?
Who spearheaded it in the city council, Mr. DiNatale?
Who spearheaded it? I don't know. I don't know who spearheaded it. It was brought up for discussion. Once again, my opponent doesn't understand the municipal legislative process. I just explained to you how that comes forward. The council has to agree to it. The council felt it was time to agree to it. The mayor's salary right now is 100, at the bottom of 100 salaries within the city. And it's also in line with both Gardner and the city of Leominster. That's why that was raised, okay? So there's nothing nefarious going on here.
Okay. Let's reverse the order here, and it's an opportunity for Mr. DiNatale to ask Mr. Couture a question.
Thank you. Sir, you have stated that you support the addition of a second charter school in Fitchburg. Given that this new charter school will only receive full reimbursement by the state in its first year, and given that the city has historically come up short on net school spending by hundreds of thousands of dollars, what programs or services within the school budget do you intend to cut in order to cover these losses that will result from a second charter school in year 2 and beyond? Let me also add these figures for your edification. Another charter school in the city of Fitchburg will cost $77,000 per bus. That's not counting the sped buses that are also needed as well. Looking out at years 2 through 6, FY17 and FY21, Fitchburg Public Schools could be facing budget cuts between $8 and $11 million. How are you going to deal with that? Thank you.
Well, Mr. DiNatale, right now we have problems getting our kids home on the bus from public school. In addition to that, We also have a constant complaint that the schools are too crowded.
Please, let him
Could you
answer the question.
Now, pardon me, right now the schools are too crowded. And that would only relieve some of the problems that we have within the school system of overcrowding. In addition to that, you make people think that it was only Fitchburg students that would be going to this. Right now, the Sizer School, which you were in favor of, were you not? Which was another charter school.
Which functions very well within the city.
It very much
Right,
does.
that's right. And it costs us money every year because they're well beyond the 5 years.
But, Mr.
Yeah,
DiNatale,
but
you have many students coming from Hubbardston, Ashburnham, Gardner, all going to the Sizer School. You would have people coming into the city in order to benefit from this charter school, thereby bringing more people, more funds in order to be able to bring their kids to school. Because right now, there's no bus that goes to Hubbardston. There's no bus that goes to Ashburnham to pick these students up. People bring their students to the classroom. I bring my daughter to school. There is no bus that would bring them from outside of the city in. It's not just Fitchburg students that are going to this school.
the majority would be Fitchburg students.
I don't think so, Mr. DiNatale.
Yes.
Okay. All right, then that concludes the questioning. We have an opportunity here for some summary wrap-ups. 2 minutes, final comments, and we'll start with Mr. Couture.
When I thought of running for mayor of Fitchburg, I knew my wife, Katrina, had to be all in. We discussed this plan to run for mayor together as sort of a journey. But it was not a journey to be taken alone. My wife of 11 years had to be in complete agreement, and we knew this journey was going to be grueling. Katrina said, "Let's roll." So we were off. Tonight, I thank Katrina and my 2 daughters from the bottom of my heart for their continued love, support, and dedication to me and to the city of Fitchburg. As grueling as the long hours away from home and family have been, I have to say it's been a labor of love. Just like I have received from Katrina, I have felt your embrace of kindness and your support and enthusiasm for somebody to come along running for mayor that wants to partner with you, for you. What does this mean? For 6 months now, I have walked in the streets in every ward of Fitchburg. I have met you, and we have talked, and I have listened. You invited me into your living room, into your kitchen. We have sat on your front steps and talked about your concerns for Fitchburg. I know your concerns, and I feel your fears. As a father of 2 little girls, I understand what it's like to watch your children grow and have fears what their life will be like in 1 year, 5 years, 20 years. Will our schools be sound? Will our playgrounds be safe? And our streets will be bright and hold a positive and wholesome event? Shops and activities for business and social opportunities? With me as mayor, you will have that. This is not going to be easy, but I will not fail. Why? Because the same grit and determination made this farm boy from Templeton become an attorney in Boston. And it's the same grit and determination that I promise to bring to this job as mayor. I'm asking for your vote on November 3rd as mayor of Fitchburg. Together we can forge a new pathway to develop a brighter and commercially economic city. I work to increase the presence of police, and I have creative ideas how to improve the city's infrastructure, including streets, and also to support and augment the energy needs of the city that will result in lower utility rates. Couture is for the future. It's not just a catchy campaign slogan, but a promise that I make to all of you. The residents of Fitchburg, together, I can make the difference in your future. Thank you.
Mr. DiNatale?
Thank you, Mr.
Closing statements?
Lapidus. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Sentinel Enterprise and Fitchburg State University for hosting this evening's debate, as well as FATV for broadcasting it. Tonight, I speak to the people of Fitchburg. My friends, I see what you see, I hear what you hear. Wait for it. I experience what you experience. I have knocked on thousands of doors, and your response has been gratifying, to say the least. I've heard your concerns about Fitchburg's current condition. The constituents I've spoken with have shared their passion and pride for Fitchburg, but most importantly, their concerns for their families' well-being and Fitchburg's future. Residents are searching for a leader, an advocate, who is accountable, accessible, and responsive. I am that person. As your state representative, my office has provided assistance to countless residents of Fitchburg, including veterans, the elderly, the disabled, and those who are displaced. My constituents know that when they are in need, I will respond to their needs and concerns. I will bring that same dedication to the office of mayor. I've established and maintained relationships both state and locally that will be invaluable to the future of our community. The job of mayor is both difficult and demanding. It requires 24/7 attention, overseeing a workforce of well over 1,000 people, managing an operating budget of more than $100 million, and ensuring our public schools are adequately funded. I've lived in our historic city with my wife and children for close to 40 years. Our lives are woven into the fabric that is Fitchburg. I am ready on day one to apply my extensive experience in municipal and state government that is a must if we are to improve the lives of our citizens. I'm respectfully asking the voters to cast your vote on November 3rd for me, Steve DiNatale, a vote that will continue improving our city and the quality of all our lives. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you both for joining us here this evening. We appreciate it. And
Thank you, Mr. President.
thank you all for joining us, as well as those watching on TV. I hope you learned a little something about the candidates and are now prepared to vote in an informed fashion on the 3rd of November. On behalf of the Sentinel and Enterprise and Fitchburg State University, have a great evening. Thank you.